what I know. Better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known. They call me obsessive, oh I know. Call me selective with my notes. Call me aggressive with my flow. Call me offensive even though Joe, I ain't gonna lie, life's tough. Try to get by, life's rough. Try to do it right.
Yeehaw, soldiers. It's your boy, the Anime Sage, coming at you with another video. And this is What If Deku Had a Fusion Quirk Part 1. Alright, so this should be a fun series to do. This, I believe, had been suggested to me by my boy Mike Law, the guy who gave me the 70 Shade cameo, and you guys voted for it, so here we are. If you guys want the series to continue, because I don't know how this will do, 1K views in 3 days, the norm for Ichigo Deku one, and the What If Naruto was happy to have Senju What If. So anyways, in terms of this week, I should give you guys some nice what ifs this week in What If Hashirama Kept the Biju Part 4 on Wednesday, and What If Naruto was happy to have Senju on Friday, as well as the Pokemon Origins Johto version episode 2 tomorrow. Anyways, watch my community tab like a hawk. Watch for vid updates, watch for polls, watch it to select what ifs I will be doing for the week, and watch it for some other fun stuff in between. So watch my community tab like a hawk. Alright, time for some quick social media plugs. Twitter is at AnimeSage4, Instagram is anime_sage4, and my Discord is linked in the description. I'll give you all reasons to /join all those at the end of the video, so watch until the end. Alright, since this is a new series, no usual checklists, let's get right into the story. Alright, so let's first get into what a fusion quirk is. So we all know what fusion is, two things or people combined together to become one entity. This has been done with Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Dragon Ball, etc, etc. Fun fact, the Deku you're looking at right now, the recolor is based on the Yu-Gi-Oh fusion card color, so he's essentially used purple, you know? He's got purple hair and a purple suit he'll get in the future, so that's pretty cool. Now, Deku will be born with this unique quirk via a complete genetic anomaly, as in we have seen kids in the amateur world get quirks unlike their parents, so it'll work here. Deku, as a young 4-year-old, will start developing fusion quirk when he accidentally fuses with a small leaf, which causes his body to turn all green-like, but his skin will be a little bit more fragile because it is out of a leaf. This will cause him to float around in the wind as he is lighter due to him fusing with the leaf. A teacher will call him to try really hard to get out of this little situation, and then Deku will end up defusing with the leaf and will start falling towards the ground into the weighing arms of a teacher. The teacher will then call Inko, and Inko will then take him to go see the doctor. Now, we're going to assume the doctor will diagnose Deku to have a quirk, and not the utter theory going around about the doctor that he stole Deku's quirk in the beginning, you know, all that stuff. Anyways, the doctor will say that Deku has a very unique quirk. It is a quirk that will allow him to fuse with objects, and maybe even people as well. Deku and his mom are very interested. However, right now, since his quirk is kind of developing at the moment, he kind of can't control what he's fusing with, so he might have to be careful with what he touches at the moment. So yeah, those first couple years are going to be very annoying. People will acknowledge that Deku's quirk is pretty powerful, including Bakugo, which will actually cause Bakugo to at least respect Deku a bit. However, I can't see them becoming friends here, because Bakugo at this point would need more than Deku to put him in the right direction, and at the moment Deku is dealing with issues of controlling his quirk, while Bakugo is ahead of him in that aspect. So Bakugo ain't going to be friends with Deku in this what if, and instead there's going to be more of a hate-filled rivalry between the two, with Deku wanting to control his quirk and beat Bakugo, while Bakugo wants to show Deku he will never be above him. Deku, over the years, in order to complement his quirk, will take martial arts, which will make him very dangerous in close hand-to-hand combat. He starts taking these classes when he is around 6 years old, which means he will be having a period of 8 to 9 years of doing non-stop martial arts training. If I were to give a comparison, he would be at least around Ichigo's level, maybe even higher, who, by the way, was the same guy who could take on multiple folks at once and was able to throw hands with Chad. So he is pretty dangerous in hand-to-hand combat. In terms of when he is able to fully control his quirk, it is around age 10 to 11, or to be more exact, not fusing with random things accidentally. It might happen once in a blue moon, but it won't happen as frequently as it used to. Now let me go into more specifics of Deku's quirk over the years. Deku has the ability to either fuse with an object and make his one body part become part of that object, or he can make his whole body into what he fused with. So an example of this is if he fused with Metal Shard. He can either make one part of his body metal, so he essentially has a metal fist, or make his whole body metal based, which means his entire body would be essentially made of metal and have the durability of metal. There are also strength and speed boosts given to Deku when he fuses with an object as well. And then in terms of fusing with people, when Deku fuses with a person, he'll create an entirely different person and will have a combination of their personalities, kind of like Dragon Ball fusion. You know how fusion works in Dragon Ball? Yeah. He will also obtain their quirks and their physical abilities, such as strength, speed, and other stuff in between, and it is combined with his own. Now, of course, there are some downsides to this quirk. First, Deku can only fuse with one object or feint at a time, or person. Now, I will make it up to where you can fuse up to 5 feints or people at a time because, not counting stuff like Chimera-type monsters or some other fusion-type monsters we all know and love. You can fuse with 5 monsters on your side of the field or your hand in Yu-Gi-Oh! At the start of a duel, if you have all like the materials and stuff like that. Again, there are some exceptions, but we'll make it up to 5 when Deku hits his peak. Anyways, the other issue is Deku, in his fusion quirk, he'll have to have the other person want to be willing to fuse with him. If that doesn't work, the person can, defuse out of him, Also, I ain't going to have him fuse with the opposite gender in What If. That opens up a whole new can of worms, where you have to determine if Deku has both parts, if you get my drift. The other weakness here for Deku is he can only keep up the form, depending on the damage he takes when it comes to object fusion. If he takes enough damage from an attack that can essentially break the form, his form will break and he'll defuse with the object, which will probably make him very vulnerable. Also, with people, he has a limited amount of time he can stay fused to someone. He will only be able to fuse with someone at a max of 15 minutes, which could also be a good thing as well. You don't really necessarily want to fuse to someone forever, Now again, there's not necessarily a time limit for an object, but there are more boosts Deku gets when it comes to fusing with a person. So everything evens out here. Deku also has a bit of a limit to what he can fuse with at the moment. He can fuse with stuff that is around his height, which, by the way, he is kind of short in the actual canon, but I think some decent exercise and stuff like that will allow him to have a height increase, so he'll be around 5'7" or 5'8", which is like an inch shorter or around the height of Bakugo. Finally, Deku can only fuse with objects, and that only includes solids, not liquids, and gases. However, if he could fuse with something like a fire truck, which he will be able to do in his prime, he would not only be able to have the metal material of a fire truck, but will also be able to use his own water cannon. Anyways, Deku will always carry some materials to fuse with, like a penny, some metal shards, and other stuff that he can fuse with in case he wants to train with his quirk or needs to protect himself. In this What If as well, we have the most important question answered. Yes, Inko will be in her prime. I just noticed that some of the baddies that I've had a slight attraction to, and then later put on a few pounds, all have the name Inko in their name. Anko and Inko. Though with Inko, we kind of have a more decent explanation. It was in the first episode, so we never got to savor her prime, but we do know why it happened. While with Anko, I don't really want to talk about that. Anyways, Inko will be in her prime and will encourage Deku to follow his dreams because he actually has a quirk, and she will not break down in tears like in canon. Deku will also get a reputation of being a relatively good person at school, as he does stand up for those who are being bullied, so he's generally well liked, except by people like Bakugo. It is the last day of middle school and Deku will be sitting in class. Deku has been trained for a very long time and has gotten some decent grades. This is because he's not bullied as often, because he can actually do some stuff, and nobody should really be messing with a guy who can destroy someone pretty easily because, yeah, why would you attack someone who knows martial arts? Again, you try and attack someone who is very good in a close combat situation and can also fuse with stuff like metal and copper, you aren't really in a good position to mess with someone like that, Anyways, Bakugo will still make an announcement that he will be the best hero and all the other people will be essentially irrelevant. He then turns to Deku and then in his head says, "Especially you, Deku." Again, didn't say it out loud, just in his head. Though he doesn't really feel like starting stuff at the moment, as he does know Deku has gotten stronger since the day he has started controlling his quirk. However, that has motivated him to want to become stronger as well, so he has trained himself pretty well. However, if I were to say who would win, it would be a toss-up as both of these two know each other very well. The teacher will then mention that Deku wants to apply to UA, and Deku will confidently say, "Yes, and I have confidence that I will get in." Bakugo will definitely get bothered by this, and no one will necessarily laugh at Deku because it isn't like he isn't capable of doing it. Bakugo deep down definitely knows Deku can do it, but he doesn't want to admit it. After class is dismissed, Bakugo will go up to Deku and say, "Listen here, Deku. You may be strong and you have a very powerful quirk, and you may be very skilled in martial arts. However, know this. I will become the #1 hero, because with my quirk and my abilities, I will accomplish that. You will just have to settle for second place." Quick thing, yes, Bakugo still calls him Deku just to put Deku down, so don't ask the question why he's called that because I have already answered it for you. Deku then says, "Well, you definitely are powerful, Bakugo. However, my goal is to be a great hero, and as a rival, I do plan on surpassing you at the end of the day. So what you say will happen doesn't really matter to me, because what matters is accomplishments." Bakugo is irritated but knows Deku is right, as actions do speak louder than words. So Bakugo definitely does have to back up his talk. Bakugo then says, "We'll see about that." And then Bakugo leaves the room. Deku leaves the room as well and will head home. He will take the shortcut as it is quicker, however all of a sudden he sees something approaching him. Deku will put a hand in his pocket, however the thing that was approaching him starts to envelop him, as is some sludge or something like that. The villain overtakes him and the villain says, "Well, look at what we have here. You do seem pretty strong, so I think I will take care of this body right now." Deku is choking at the moment and is trying to get out of this situation. Deku then is able to feel one of his pieces and then fuses. A flashlight commences and Deku is able to break out the sludge villain in a solid concrete-like form. Essentially, Deku had some piece of solid concrete he got by punching in his metal fused form, on a sidewalk, and had trained with it for a bit. Like, he could fuse with essentially the whole block of a sidewalk, but it isn't manageable to carry, so he just got that piece of concrete, It also was probably one of the things he didn't really want to fuse with, as he does really prefer his metal, but it got him out of the situation anyway, so that's fine at least. The sludge villain is impressed with Deku and wants him even more, and shows tendencies compared to a certain snake we all know and love. I mean, all he wants is that young Deku body, right? The sludge villain would go after Deku, and Deku would brace for some combat. However, all of a sudden, the sludge villain gets smacked by someone. It is almost like a blur, but then the sludge villain will get destroyed and put into a container. It is revealed to be All Might as he says, "Have no fear, for I am here." Deku kind of nerds out a bit, as he still has been a fan of All Might for, since he was like 5, However, since he is a bit more into training, he will not nerd out as much, but still asks All Might if he can sign his journal, and All Might does so. All Might then says he has to go, but before he goes, Deku asks All Might if he can be a great hero. All Might will then say, "Well, you did a good job holding off the sludge villain, and you seem to have a very interesting quirk, as your entire body seems to be made out of concrete." Deku then explains his quirk and how it works to All Might, and All Might is impressed with Deku. He has a quirk that confuses stuff, and he can have strength boost, speed boost, and other stuff, so he is definitely intrigued by this boy. All Might then says, "You'll make a fine hero one day, young man. Just keep doing what you are doing, and you will be great one day." All Might then says his goodbyes, and Deku is pretty happy that he not only got his notebook signed by All Might, but was also complimented by him. Deku then realizes he has to train harder than ever because he essentially got a co-signed by All Might, so he will essentially do all his training in the martial arts, and may look into some more stuff like, go to a gym, This also means the sludge villain incident won't happen because Deku never jumps onto All Might's leg, or body, which will also lead All Might into finding a new successor. And guess who it is? None other than Mirio Tokata. This will also mean that All Might and Night Eye will have a better relationship compared to the original canon, and while All Might will continue to do some of his hero duties, he will also help Night Eye train, Mirio for One for All. Though Night Eye will be doing a slight majority of the work, Anyways, Deku heads home and tells his mom about what happened, and while Inko is kind of upset he got into a bit of a situation with a villain, she's definitely happy that he got a bit of a cosign from All Might. Deku will then ask if he can apply for a gym and see if he can bulk up a bit more. Quick thing, it isn't like Deku isn't built at all, he just isn't built enough, He isn't built. Like, he's not peak human. Inko will think about it, Deku will say please, and Inko will give the okay. I mean, they have to be making a decent amount of money if Deku's head is never in the house, right? Anyways, Deku over the next 10 months will be getting pretty built. He isn't necessarily going to be as jacked as he was when he first was in a 10-month time skip like in canon, but it will be somewhat around there because he has been trained in martial arts for a very long time. Deku will also at times have some downtime to himself, but is also looking for his teacher to see if he can find new ways to improve in his martial arts form, and also is looking for new ways to improve his quirk. A little bit into 5 months, Deku will one day be looking around on his day off, and he'll accidentally bump into a girl. The girl looks pretty attractive, and she causes Deku to blush a little bit. Deku nervously apologizes to the girl, and the girl will say no, she's sorry because she bumped into him accidentally, Deku will slowly, as he talks to the girl, will calm down a little bit, and will talk to the girl like a normal person. The girl definitely can see that Deku is pretty, well built, and is at least cute, right? They then talk a bit more and will end up exchanging numbers with each other. When Deku asks what her name is, the girl says her name is Momoya Yorozu. Oh yes, I'm going back to this pairing. Momo will say that she is going to UA via recommendations, and Deku will definitely think the girl is pretty strong. I mean, she has to be if she's getting to UA via recommendations of all things, and doesn't even have to take the test. She will talk about her quirk, and will say it's, it's a creation quirk, where she can create anything as long as she has the limits to do so, and knows the Fane's chemical compound, which impresses Deku by, a bit. Deku will then say what his quirk is, and Momo is definitely impressed by Deku, as that is definitely a useful quirk. Momo will then make a joke about wanting to fuse with him, and Deku will nervously laugh it off and then say, "You probably wouldn't want that." Momo will then be surprised and say, "Wait, have you fused with girls before?" Deku will say, "Nope, and I definitely don't want to know what that is like. I haven't even fused with boys. You think I want to fuse with girls?" Momo will laugh at the joke and then nervously imagines what that would be like, They then both separate, but will keep touch with each other via texting. Now, Deku isn't as nervous when it comes to women, but he can still get nervous. Here I just had him get nervous at first when he saw a very attractive girl, but he got more and more comfortable with Momo as he kept talking to her. Deku will later finish the 10 months of training and will head to UA entrance exam. Deku will still meet Ochako like in canon and will have a decent but short conversation and wish her luck in the exam. Or I think he was thinking about another girl at the moment, if you know what I'm saying. Deku will do pretty decently on the entrance exam as he will get a B grade, so that's pretty good for him. Deku will see Ochako and wants to talk to her a little bit again, but is stopped by a certain guy with glasses. And he will just follow Ida's guide, okay, so I just revealed the guy with glasses, but we all know who it is. Anyways, he doesn't really want to cause anything that will warrant him getting kicked out of the exam, so he'll leave it all alone. When the practical exam begins, Deku is more motivated because he wants to show up Ida, so he fuses with his medal and goes to work. He'll be able to pick up a solid 60 villain points, which is really good for him, actually. He is definitely impressing Ida. And he is kind of getting mad, The fact that he has a metal form and is very skilled in hand-to-hand combat definitely helps here. The 0-pointer will appear and Deku will want to run at first, but we'll see Ochako under some rubble with her ankle, hurt, and we'll go help her. He smashes the rubble that is on top of Ochako and grabs a piece of the rubble, puts it in his pocket, and takes it to a safe place away from the 0-pointer. Deku then decides to take the 0-pointer's legs out so it will stop and fall, and he can do that in its melon hands form. However, this will cause the 0-pointer to fall forward once Deku takes out his legs, and Deku is a bit slow to react. However, Ochako, with all her strength, is able to push Deku out of the way and saves him from that situation. Deku will say, "Definitely not one of my best moments, but thank you, Ochako." And Ochako will say, "No problem, Izuku," and then feels the pain in her ankle again. Deku will ask if she is okay and will volunteer to help her out, and Ochako says she can try to walk. The test is then declared over, and Ochako will later be sent to the recovery goal to look at that ankle, Deku will wait for his results in a bit of a week to see if he passed. He will get a note of congratulations from All Might and says he not only got 60 villain points, but was also able to pick up 45 rescue points, naming him 105 points, the most in a test. When leaderboard is shown, Ochako actually also got 60 rescue points instead of her Kanon 45, because she definitely nearly risked her life making sure Deku of all people lived, Bakugo will be third with a solid 85 villain points. Deku is pretty happy he got in. He is congratulated by his mom, and Momo also congratulates him when she gets the news from text, Deku has just gone into UA. How will his journey be without One For All but having a really powerful fusion quirk? And how will Muriel handle the pressure of being the successor to All Might? Find out as the series hopefully continues. Thank you all for watching part 1 of What If Deku Had a Fusion Quirk. This is actually pretty fun for me to write, as I love the new things that kind of added to the MHA verse, especially since the sludge villain incident doesn't really happen here, and there are some other things that are pretty good to enjoy here. Once again, 1K views in 3 days for this to become an official series, and doesn't necessarily become a dead experiment. Anyways, get ready for this week, as it's going to be very hype. Make sure to watch my community tab like a hawk for a minute there. Follow me on Twitter for another way to get notified from my videos, Instagram for memes and other fun stuff in between, and join my Discord server for sneak peeks of supplementary content, notifications when I live stream ahead of time, and the ability to suggest what if ideas to me directly. These are also all a great way for you guys to interact with me, so follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and join my Discord server. We are so close to 7K, let's get there. That is all I have to say. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and share the video. This has been your boy, the Anime Sage, signing out. Peace. YEEHAW. Stephanie Shea, close us out. Bye-bye. Peace.
Hi, this is Stephanie Shea, voice actress for Sailor Moon, Hinata, Orihime, and you are watching Anime Sage.